Yesterday, we saw some exciting news. We have a new Secretary General in OPEC who will assume the new role starting on the 1st of August. The person selected was Haitham El-Ghaith from Kuwait. He was previously Kuwait's OPEC governor for 4 to 5 years. He's a very experienced technocrat. I personally spoke with him yesterday, and he told me one of the top priorities that he plans is continuing unity within the OPEC Plus group. He wants the declaration of cooperation to also continue, and he also wants to give OPEC Plus and producers in general a larger voice amid all these transition pressures that we're seeing.
Yeah, really interesting move at the top, and I've heard some very, very positive things about him. Of course, our thoughts and thanks to outgoing Secretary General Mohammed Bakr, who's always been very kind to us here on CNBC. That said, our viewers hear this declaration of cooperation, and I've tried to lay it out for them. I kind of call it the all for one and one for all deal that they made, and here's the problem. OPEC, even if they wanted to raise output more, President Biden saying we need more oil. Libya has 350,000 barrels a day offline. Nigeria is having problems. I mean, even if OPEC wanted to raise more output, could they do it? It doesn't look like they could.
You're absolutely right, Brian. I mean, there are a number of countries, the ones you mentioned, to add to that. Perhaps Angola, Congo, many countries can't raise their production. And we're still seeing OPEC, despite promising to increase 400,000 barrels a day every month, we're not seeing that amount actually being delivered into the market because countries can't meet their quotas. Now, this issue, could it be perhaps discussed at the meeting? And members would say, okay, we're going to adjust the quotas of some of these countries and allow others to compensate. It's quite a controversial subject. None of these countries would want to see their quotas revised. And there are only 2 or 3 countries really in the entire OPEC Plus group could raise their production and have the flexibility to do that. So that's partly why we're seeing prices rise. There is a concern that there is no more spare capacity. Spare capacity is being eaten up.
2 of those 3 countries that have the ability to do it, obviously the Saudis, they could raise production if they wanted to by a lot. Then they've got the UAE. The UAE wants to stay on the very good side of the Biden administration. Maybe there's some political challenges between Washington and Riyadh right now. OPEC, as you see it, Amina, do they have a political motive in any way to revise that deal to raise more output? I simply don't see it. What about you?
Brian, I spoke to a number of sources yesterday, including ones in the U.S., and they said that this time, of course, they still have communication with OPEC Plus members, especially Saudi Arabia and the UAE. They do make those calls. They check in with them. But this time, there was no lobbying ahead of this meeting that's happening today to add more production than the already planned 400,000. So and what we've heard from delegates is that they plan to continue with that 400,000. However, we saw in the JTC report which was reviewed yesterday that during the first and second quarter of the year, there is a tightness in the market. So there is potential to add more oil. Whether or not the group will decide to go ahead with that, we'll see. As you noted earlier, it's a matter of spare capacity.